Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome or welcome back to BnB Anime. I am Blue. That is Brad. Today we are discussing, I feel like, probably the epitome of an isekai.
Pretty much. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I have watched a lot of isekais in my time, and this is about as stereotypical of an isekai as you can get. However, at the same time, it's a play on isekai. Like, it's so dumb, and yet at the same time, I had a ball with it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So we are discussing officially Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of Otome games is tough for mobs. And I agree. It's kind of somewhere halfway between like a full-on parody and a legit isekai.
Yeah, like, it definitely falls into the isekai genre, but it feels like a parody.
Yeah. It's definitely a parody of harems.
Definitely. And it's so strange, too, because it's set in a world to where, like, homie kind of has his own, like, harem building around him, but at the same time, women have all the power in this world. So it's a very interesting dynamic to see brought into an anime, especially with, like I said, the power dynamic being shifted, and I'm all for girl power in an anime, so seeing that kind of portrayed here with, like, how the whole overarching hierarchy, that's a whole lot of archy nonsense. Just to say, I enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it as well. I'm excited to get into properly discussing things because I am here to argue today that this anime has the best setup for a throuple that I have ever seen in anime.
Oh?
I argue that our two main female leads and our main male lead would make the best relationship altogether.
I mean, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely one of those times to where I know we've kind of joked about this kind of thing before whenever we're, like, talking about, like, ships and whatnot. I'm totally okay with that for this one.
I just think the setup, like, I feel like, because you know how some, like, we joke about that a lot, but I genuinely feel like that would be an interesting storyline to go with in this anime, especially considering how it's kind of lighthearted, jokey, it has that flirtatious element throughout all of it, and it's based in a dating simulator game where, the main female character is supposed to choose from all of these male characters, right? So I just think that the two ladies have a really good relationship with each other, and I would ship, like, if it's not a throuple, I'm shipping those two together. But I genuinely think that our main male lead as well fits into their dynamic so well, and I could genuinely see the three of them being together.
I definitely feel like Leon is definitely the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Out of the bunch, more so than the rest, although the character that he portrays, because it's very interesting to see how he acts, because he's very much, like, quote-unquote playing a character. Because you see glimpses of who he actually is, but then he goes full on, like, antagonist mode.
Yeah.
And so I definitely love the dynamic between all three, because all three of them, like, all possess something that the others don't. So it's a fantastic dynamic that you don't get out of a lot of shows, especially for something that, I shit you not, whenever spring started, I was ready to write this off as trash isekai. But then the more I watched it week to week, I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually enjoying this. And then by the time it was all said and done, I was like, okay, this is one of the shows that I enjoyed most out of the season whenever I was watching, like, 17 different fucking things.
Yeah, it's very memorable, and it's one of the things that I enjoy kind of most about it is that the world building makes zero sense. So that means that they can do anything that they want. And the way that they've played it off is really clever, because they've set this in a world of a dating sim. So for those of you who have no idea what we're going on about, main character is Leon. He was in our world and was tasked by his younger sister to play this dating sim for her so that he could get all of the different princes to fall in love and you know, whatever with her character, so that then she would have the complete unlocked version of the game. And so she kind of blackmails him into doing it, and he does it. He completes the game. Then he gets isekai'd into the dating simulator world. This world, though, has been played off as being like a trashy video game, like just really cheaply, well, like good quality made, but like the storyline doesn't make any sense because the whole point of it is just to fall in love with whichever prince that you want and swoon all over them, right? So like
or all 5 of them.
Exactly.
Like it's a true harem dating scene.
Exactly, yeah. So they've played it off from the very beginning of the writing of the video game makes no sense, and nothing in it makes sense. Like there's a strangely large amount of like battle scenes, and like, you know, like they couldn't decide on which genre this dating simulator was gonna be, and they couldn't...
like they had Gundam fights.
Yeah,
they had like speed bike racing.
Yeah, but there's also like Final Fantasy style magic and like
floating islands being what everything exists on.
Medieval and mecha aesthetic, and sci-fi, like all thrown in to one. And because that's established from the very beginning of the very first episode, when things happen that just don't make sense within the isekai, it makes complete sense.
Yes, it's the only way they could have possibly shoehorned everything in to this all at one point.
But it's such a believable excuse.
It is. Like oh my goodness. It's such a different take on a genre, and yet at the same time, they did everything very well. Yeah, I agree. It's dumb and it's a lot of fun. So I think before we even get into our proper discussion, we haven't even spoken about what we've been up to, but before we get into the proper discussion on all of this, I think Brad and I could both recommend, it's a load of fun. Watch it. Yeah, go check it out, then come back to this, or, you know, finish this and then go check it out. Just skip all the spoilery bits because we will get there eventually. Yeah. I don't have any trigger warnings other than the usual. These are teenage characters that have been sexualized. That's standard across all media, so, you know, it's what it is. It's rated a PG-13, which isn't bad. That fits. Yeah, that fits. Yeah, I feel like that's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So, what have you done this week besides work? Because I know you have been a very busy bee the past week. Yeah, so a couple of my coworkers I've just gotten actually another text from my boss being like, can you cover more on Tuesday? Because a couple of my coworkers have had COVID positive tests. Oh, you too? Yeah, so... My girlfriend's out with it. A couple people in our friend group are out with it. The other like main media person at church was out with it. Mm-hmm. So it's been like, I feel almost alone at this point. Everything has been thrown for a loop. Yeah. So it's spiking up here in Canada as well a little bit. Make sure you guys go get your boosters. Yeah. Other than that, it's been disastrously hot. I know you're going to laugh at me for that, but this is Canada. No, I get it. At this point, I can't throw shade anymore because you're not used to heat. And also, I know the UK is also getting absolutely fucking slaughtered. Yeah, well, right all of Europe with heat. Yeah. Most of Europe's on fire, which is fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's the same. It's the same thing here in Canada as kind of what's happening in Europe, except that we're like, other than the forest fires, because Canada has a lot in place to, like, a lot of infrastructure in place to help with forest fires, because like we're very used to them. We get a lot happening in BC and Alberta and stuff, and quite often you'll hear about Canadian firefighters going down to help in like California and stuff. Like that's quite a common occurrence. Like the American and Canadian firefighters help with each other's fires when needed. We're on the same continent, it makes sense, you know? Mm. Europe, though, has no infrastructure to deal with forest fires. So you're looking at the news broadcasts of these, and if you're North American, you're probably looking at like the acres that are burning, and you're thinking, oh, it's not that bad. But you have to consider, first of all, how compact Europe is. So those acres aren't like, it's not like, you know, 10 acres or 100 acres or whatever in a 10,000 acre area. It's 10 acres or 100 acres or whatever in a 200 acre area.
you know?
Yeah,
Like,
whenever almost the entire majority of Europe, an entire continent, can fit inside of Texas,
yeah, like,
that's putting it into perspective a little bit.
yeah, like, 4 Englands can fit in Alberta alone, like the one province. So when those acres, they take up a lot. You also have to remember that the population of Europe and of America, like, are very similar. We have even though the space is so compact, like, I think there's like 30, let me double check this. I know there's like nearly 40 million people in Canada. Okay, so there's nearly 56 million people live in England. Less than that live in Canada, right? So, so when we're talking about, people being displaced, it's a small area, but thousands of people are being displaced because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then also you have to remember that the vast majority of homes in Europe, especially in the north of Europe, do not come equipped with air conditioning. And a lot of those buildings are also historically protected because they are hundreds of years old and have survived like multiple world wars, So like they're very, very historically protected, which means that you are not allowed to install air conditioning or fan systems or cooled flooring or whatever you can think of. You cannot physically put them into the buildings because those buildings are only able to have renovations done to them that are done in the exact same process that the original building was done, because that building is considered like museum worthy, right? So people can't either they can't afford to add air conditioning into their houses, they're not allowed to put air conditioning into their houses, they don't have room to put air conditioning into their houses, or it's just not a thing. You don't have it in Europe. Like 16 degrees in England is considered a nice warm sunny day,
Yeah.
So this is unfathomable heat, and I'm kind of feeling it here up in Canada as well. It's nowhere near as bad as that, but like I don't have AC in my building. A lot of people don't have AC in their building. It doesn't come as standard here in Canada either, because of course it's Canada. We need heating, and that's the thing as well. Is a lot of these European buildings, along with Canadian buildings, are built as really good insulators to trap in as much warmth as possible because they're designed for winter, not summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is we're all dying of heat. We're all very uncomfortable. We're all sticky and gross. And drink lots of water. Stay in the shade as much as possible. Remember your sunscreen. If you need...
Blackout curtains are a must.
Blackout curtains are a must, yeah. Sometimes outside is cooler than inside and you don't realize it. So check outside and see what temperature is outside, because you might be like, oh my god, I'm dying, so I need to shut all my windows and stuff. But you'll be surprised what a breeze can do.
Not only that, but open multiple windows.
Yeah.
Create airflow.
Yeah.
Like, don't just open one, because that's still going to cause heat to stagnate. If you open 2 doors and or 2 windows that can actually circulate air through, that nice breeze will help a lot. That's coming from a southerner who's used to 100+ degree heat.
Yeah. And also, don't be afraid to go find a cafe and buy a $3 lemonade or something and sit in the cafe for a couple of hours in the air conditioning because you just throughout the heat of the day because you're dying. Like, that's okay too.
Yeah, cool off. Whatever you got to do to cool off. Go buy a bag of ice, dump it in your bathtub, and go sit.
Yeah,
might not
have a
last
cold
long,
shower.
but it'll definitely help. Like, anything you can do to cool off, do it. Like, don't put anything past yourselves at this point, because heat is very, very bad.
Things like if you have rugs on the floor, but you have hardwood flooring or tile flooring or something, put the rugs away. Roll them up, put them away. That'll help. Yeah. Try and get as much fabric away from your house as possible, because tapestries, people forget. Tapestries, they look at them and they think, oh my god, they're so pretty. I like them in the castles and stuff. The reason why they were there was not because they were pretty. That was a bonus. They were there because they kept heat in the castle. So, carpets keep you hot. Get rid of them.
Pretty much.
Anyway, yeah, that's our PSA.
We do the science thing.
We do the science thing. Yeah, I've been seeing that light bulb heat index become a huge thing now. That's what most meteorologists are talking about, I feel like.
Well, I think a lot of people are slowly switching to LED because they don't get as hot. They last longer, and although they're more cost expensive up front, they are a lot more cost effective in the long run. So if you're considering switching to LED, now's the time. Because they don't get as hot, and also they last forever. I realize bulbs are expensive as fuck, but those bulbs will probably outlast you.
Okay, yeah, that's me. What about you?
Watching a lot of anime. Like I said, the girlfriend's got COVID, so she's trapped in a town over.
She's trapped in a dating sim.
Pretty much. If only I could get her to watch anime, she might actually understand that joke. But yeah, so I've been using my spare time watching a lot of trash anime that's airing week to week currently, but also I started a long-running series. I started Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay. How far have you gotten?
I am to episode 10 now, so I'm kind of slowly working my way through it. So I have recently been introduced to a partner Twitch streamer by the name of Reckless. Dude is awesome. He's been awesome to get to know. And I'm actually going to be interviewing him on his stream Tuesday for an episode of Anime Island.
Yay!
So that's going to be coming out in a few weeks. So if you're looking forward to something, look forward to that, because that's actually going to be really cool. But he does every weekday throughout the week, he does a different anime at night to watch. So after stream's over, we'll all sit in, we'll watch stuff. We're watching AOT, Demon Slayer, and then Hunter x Hunter was one of them as well. So I was like, cool, I'll sit down and watch it just to give it a go, because I've never seen it. So I've been watching it. Not gonna lie, it's been fun. Like, I enjoyed the couple episodes that I watched, so I was like, I'll give it a watch.
Yeah.
So started from the very beginning, and now I'm here. And so far, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, it's good. I got to the giant ant arc. I probably mostly all the way through that arc, and then I actually wonder if I have my exact episode number. Did I put it in the dropped category? I did. Don't kill me. No, I don't have the exact episode number recorded. That's annoying. I'll have to go back and figure it out.
Making enemies of everybody that's listening to this. I probably made enemies considering I said that I just started it, but it's okay. Better late than never to jump on the bandwagon.
I'm gonna move it from dropped to stalled because I have been meaning to get back to it. I think I just
like you
put it in dropped.
That you're meaning.
I know, but I think that's the thing I think that's why it ended up being in dropped is because I'd had it installed for so long that I was like, I'm just going to move it over to dropped. But I don't actually have much in my stalled thing right now. So category, folder, file, thing. So it's now installed. I will try and get back to it.
There you go. So yeah, that's been a thing that I've gotten into, and also I'm ready to set fire to a friendship really quick, if I may do that.
Oh, okay.
So we have a producer on this podcast that is a big fan of a certain show.
Okay, I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you that I was ready to set fire to that friendship after having watched a recreation. So our producer is a big fan of a certain show called Tokyo Mew Mew. The original airing is very like 90s to early 2000s, like the art style fits it, like the humor and everything fits it. And honestly, watching through that, I had a great time with it.
Yeah.
So they recently decided to remake it. And I have been watching the remake up to this point, and I hate it.
Oh, Dim's a fight.
I genuinely hate it.
Oh no, why?
Like, it feels like they retook the original show, remade it, like just they barely updated the graphics. Okay, we're in 2022. We have Makoto Shinkai making absolute masterpieces to where you can confuse animation with realism. And they're remaking it from scratch, like retelling the same story, just remaking it. So they have blueprints of what they can do and build from. They've barely updated the visuals. It literally feels like they're taking the same story, but like putting it on fast forward through episodes.
Oh.
Everything just, I don't like it. I'm not having a good time with it at all.
Oh no.
I want to drop it, but I feel like I can't, because at this point I've made it a bit to where I watch all the stuff airing week to week, but it is not good at all. I genuinely hate it.
Oh no.
It belongs in the bin. Like it's going in the trash.
Okay.
My deepest condolences, but for that show, it's going in the trash.
Okay.
So yeah, there's my hot take as far as what I'm watching week to week.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack from that, not just from him, but from a lot of people.
Well, I'm very curious because remakes tend to be either huge hits or misses. And especially
Fruits Basket took the world over with its remake. Like everybody adored it, and typically I get it. Like a lot of it is nostalgia, so people have nostalgic feelings for it, so they kind of let that take over with a lot of things. So I feel like remakes never really get a fair shot. But as somebody who didn't have nostalgia for Tokyo Mew Mew, but went into it and really enjoyed the original, because I think I started watching it like 6 months to a year ago. So it's still really fresh in my mind. And then going into the remake and seeing what they're doing with it, you know what it feels like?
What?
It feels like Sailor Moon versus Sailor Moon Crystal.
Oh, okay. I'm with you.
It's that kind of shit. Yeah. To put it in perspective, it's redone to that level of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my hot take. But Chainsaw Man, I'm enjoying the manga for that. They're airing chapters of that weekly, and I'm having a great time.
Good. Yeah. Glad to hear it.
So that's good. Overlord's good. I'm enjoying The Devil's a Part-Timer more and more week to week. I'm getting used to the new animation style, so I'm actually enjoying it a lot. It's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of good anime going on right now that I'm having a blast with, and then there's also there's a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
The summer season in general feels like a lot of garbage. Like it really feels like a placeholder going into winter because of all the massive titles that we have coming.
Yeah, I feel like for the past few years, since we started the podcast, really, our summer season has just kind of been where we've discussed what happened in spring and then tried things. Like summer is kind of where we experiment with like random shit.
Except for this go around, like I feel like I haven't been able to do that because the spring lineup was so good.
Agreed.
I felt like
we're on catch-up mode.
Yeah, like the past, I think 5 seasons or so have just been packed with so much good shit, or at least from fall of last year, have just been packed with so much good shit. I find it hard to sit down and schedule these episodes because there's so much that I want us to sit down and watch. And that's why typically the first month after a new season finishes, like I'm making sure that we cover the biggest shows because those are the ones that I enjoyed the most of. But come fall, there's very little that I think I want to cover from this season.
Yeah, which will be good though, because that'll mean that we'll be able to go back and do some of the ones that we've missed.
Yeah, that's very true. But with also saying that, I will say I recently restarted an anime that I said was garbage and I dropped, and I don't hate it as much.
Oh?
So do you remember, I think back whenever we first started this, or shortly after we first started this, I ran across a show called Rent a Girlfriend and I dropped it because it was hot garbage.
I do, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so we started a Discord movie night last night, myself and a few friends, and This Is Fine. And while we were doing that, we, of course, introduced a friend of mine to Love is War. That got him introduced to that and got him enjoying that. And then we were like, all right, do you want to watch some trash? And he was like, sure. And he's not big on subbed anime because reading, which I kind of get. To an extent. So I was like, all right, let's start Rent a Girlfriend because it's trash. And in my brain, I was like, all right, I can disassociate while we watch this. So we put on the dub, and not going to lie, I laughed quite a bit.
Huh.
Like, for some reason, I feel like the dub is much more tolerable. I don't know if it's just because whenever I'm watching dubbed anime, like the podcast brain kind of shuts off.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just able to kind of watch what I'm watching in face value rather than just shitting on it. But realistically, the dub is better than the sub for that show, and I don't hate it.
Yeah. Interesting.
I still cringe a lot because that show it shows a lot of fucking cringe. But it's funny, at least dubbed.
I feel like you were discussing that around the time of us doing The Devil is a Part-Timer, but I don't know.
I think it was relatively early on because I want to say the first season aired like shortly after I came back to Cleveland. Like something along those lines. So I'm not sure. I know I started watching it week to week and I was kind of tickled with it at first, but the longer the show went on, the more it just became more and more cringe.
Yeah.
That OP's a bop though. That OP is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of my other thing of like, I don't know. Maybe it's just brain going, okay, dub mean I don't have to hate as much. And then I just kind of enjoyed. So that's kind of an update on how podcast brain works, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what podcast brain did enjoy, though?
What?
Dating sim.
Yeah, let's dive into this because I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, I figured that would just kind of make an easy segue back
fantastic
into it.
segue. 10 out of 10.
All right, so Trapped in a Dating Sim is a comedy, sci-fi, isekai, all of that kind of stuff. I think it also classifies as a rom-com, even though it's not so much rom as it is a whole lot more com.
Yeah, I have Isekai, Mecha, Reincarnation, School as the themes here on my anime list.
Yeah, and then Wikipedia has it listed as comedy, isekai, science fiction, which I guess are like the true quote-unquote genres for it. And then like mecha and all of those are like subclasses, I guess.
Yeah, so the genre is fantasy and those others with themes as it's listed on my anime list.
And so the series is based off of a novel and light novel series by Yomu Mishima. The light novel began publication in May of 2018 and is running to present for 10 volumes. The manga is a shonen, which surprises me because I feel like this doesn't necessarily classify in the shonen category, but at the same time, kind of. I don't know.
I don't know where else you would put it, though.
I could see it being like a seinen or something along those lines. Like, I feel like it belongs more in like the slice of life-y sections rather than like a true shonen.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's fantasy, I don't think it just slaps the shonen button.
I think it fits both. I think it's a real middle ground. I feel like there's elements of it that's very like casual, just school life, like relationship dynamics, embarrassing coming of age teenage vibes, you know. But then there's also this whole other side of it of like it's a battle arc game vibe, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. It kind of goes across a lot of demographics.
Yeah.
But the manga ran, or is still running. It began publication in October of 2018 and is running to present for a total of 8 volumes, which I guess at this point ensures that we're going to get a second season at the very least.
I would love a second season. I definitely want a second season.
Oh, most definitely. And they kind of set it up for a second season too. So I'm going to look forward to that. And then the anime was directed by Kazuya Miura and Shinichi Fukumoto. It had its original run from April 3rd of 2022 to June 19th of 2022 for a total of 12 episodes. And the studio that made it was Studio NG.
Yeah. Yeah, so its Japanese name, forgive me for this, I'm going to try my best, is Otome game Sekai wa Mob ni Kibishi Sekai Desu. And it is rated PG-13, as I mentioned earlier. It scores a 7.37 out of 10 on my anime list, or a 3.86 out of 5 on Anime Planet, or a 7.72 out of 10. So about a 7.5 on average between the two, from just quick visual maths. Its drop rate is a 4.66%, which is good. That's a good drop rate.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I almost consider that around standard, like anywhere between like 3 to 5. I pretty much consider standard, especially on something that's this relatively new.
Agreed.
But it is good for like the demographic that it's suited for.
Yeah, I think isekai as a genre is held to such high standards these days because it's such a saturated genre. And especially, I would even consider comedy isekais to be held to an even higher standard because of things like Konosuba, which have kind of created their own separate genre within a genre. And so Trapped in a Dating Sim had a very tough time coming out in 2022 as an anime. I feel like the dating sim aspect of it is the only thing that kept it afloat in such a saturated genre, because that's very trendy right now. The relationship dynamic, like the way that they've done this is Trapped in a Dating reminds me My Dress Up Darling and a couple of other animes that have been really popular that aren't coming to brain right now, that are like they're that awkward teen romance comedy vibe aspect, which you were going on about how it kind of feels like a slice of life vibe. That's so trendy right now that it's bringing up the isekai, which is kind of not as trendy, and making it trendy again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I think that drop rate would have probably been a lot higher had it not had that same like sweet kind of awkward romance element to it. We wouldn't have seen the score as high.
I feel like it always left enough at the end of every episode to where it just made you want to come back for more.
Agreed.
Because as someone who watched this week to week and didn't drop it at any point, like there was always something to where I was like, oh yeah, I need to go back and watch this. Just because I had to know what was going to happen next. And also I wanted a really good laugh out of it, because that's what the show produced. Like the comedy was, I was pretty much giggling about the entire time.
Yeah. And there's some really good, interesting plot points throughout that we'll discuss more after the spoiler warning is on. But there's some really like little sneaky things that you're like, maybe that's how that works. And then it's kind of confirmed, but never is fully confirmed throughout. We also have some very easy to hate characters, which I feel like aids a show fantastically well. Not necessarily complete villains, just characters that are just fucking annoying. Yes. And then we do have some proper villains in there as well. But our main... we've got some proper... I don't want to say that because I think that would spoil. But funnily enough, I got Wise Man's Grandchild vibes from this, which, if you don't know, is the very first anime that we covered here on this show. And I feel like this is what Wise Man's Grandchild was trying to be.
I can 100% see that, because I feel like this kind of took the ball and ran with what Wise Man's Grandchild dropped. So I definitely want to take another look at Wise Man's Grandchild just to, I guess, rewatch it, because I literally only watched it for the podcast and that was it.
Yeah.
So honestly, we should do that sometime soon. We need to revisit that and just see what, if any, our thoughts have changed on it. But this show raised the bar for that type of isekai, without a doubt. Not my favorite isekai, but holy shit, I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, and I also like the way that they did our overpowered main character.
Yes, because it seemed like he was overpowered with brain power, but he's also not that smart. He just played a video game to the point to where he had everything memorized.
Yeah. And I actually really like that when he was isekai'd, he was into like a younger kid's body.
And it's like he had lost his memory too. But then it like came back to him one day and he's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I like the way that they did this. So let's check those spoiler hats, chicken hat. What am I talking about?
Spoiler chicken
hats. Thank you.
Let's
Let's put those on because I want to get into detail.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the story bits.
Okay. I kind of want to just jump straight into theories. Do you have theories?
What do you mean by theories?
Well, I think it's kind of a confirmed theory that both brother and sister are in here.
That would be my guess out of the bunch.
Yeah.
To put the overarching plot point just to the forefront, because then we can kind of get to bits that we really enjoyed. So our homie Leon was a working man. However, he was out for Golden Week or something like that. He had a week off from work, and his sister was like, hey, fuck you. I'm going to go to the beach. You beat this or else.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, fine. So he literally spends a week pretty much nonstop playing this game, beats it, gets 100%, gets the ending where the protagonist gets with all 5 of the princes in the land. The main antagonist gets shipped off to some backwood country island thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, okay, I'm done. Oh shit, I haven't eaten in like a week. I'm gonna go to the store.
Yeah.
Homie gets isekai'd, not by Truck-kun, but no, Stare-kun.
Yes. Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. And, you know, I've been there. I've done it. You know, when you haven't eaten breakfast and then you go have a really hot shower and then you get out of the shower and you're like, oh, now I have to sit on the ground because everything's gone white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Bought the t-shirt. It was not a fun time.
Did you look at the comments on that first episode?
No.
Everybody was just like, oh, Truck-kun must be on vacation because Stare-kun got
Truck-kun got his sister.
Yeah, like
He was a Golden Week.
People were also explaining like a lot of the origins of Isekai, and apparently Stare-kun almost has a higher kill count than fucking Truck-kun.
Interesting. They have a rivalry.
Yeah, it was an outright discussion.
We need an anime on the rivalry between Truck-kun and Stare-kun.
I'm here for
Yes.
it. Why not?
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
I mean, lots of Isekai death, but you know.
Yeah. So Homie gets brought into the fantasy world, and he is a mob character. And so he's like, all right, I'm not going to interfere too much. Like, everything's just going to be fine. I'm going to go to the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And homegirl that's over the island that he was on is like, no, you're like the 5th son of the family. So I could understand like sending the 1st or 2nd child, but you're the 5th child. So no. And he's like, all right, fuck you. I'm going to make sure that I can go. So Homie goes off, uses his knowledge of the game and literally finds a pay-to-play item that he bought in the game to beat it and get the ending that he wanted. He found it and got it, and that becomes our familiar for the show of Luxion. And Homie is best boy.
Yes, absolutely. 10 out of 10.
But yeah, or best robot, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's out adventuring and he got his pay-to-play item, he also amassed untold riches, brought them back, set it down in front of the bitch, and was like, hey, so listen, I got all this. I'm going to the academy now. And she's like, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So he was granted a barony. He was given all the things that he wanted, and then he goes to the academy where things are not what they seemed.
Yeah, so this is quite interesting to me because society isn't a matriarchal society. It's still a patriarchal society. Like, there's a king that is the overall ruler and stuff. But the way that the academy is set is that the men that are there are trying to gain themselves a wife of standing because that elevates their social status and gives them the better life. So, which is interesting.
Well, it's also like, even though the king and the queen in this society are on like equal standings, unlike in other shows where the king has the big throne and the queen has the little throne, the king and the queen had equal thrones, and it's made to appear like the queen is actually the ruler. Like, she's the one who makes all the decisions. So it's very much like a reverse hierarchy of like girl power.
Yeah.
In this world.
From what we saw, there wasn't a whole lot of like ruling that we saw specifically happen. We actually didn't really get to know the king at all throughout the entire season. So I don't know how much leverage, like, I don't know. I don't really know the dynamics. What I do know though is that, yeah, so it's set up so that these young lads are trying to gain themselves wives while at school, and the girls are trying to gain themselves husbands as well, but both of them want the better social standing, and they want to kind of like marry up, you know, both sexes, genders. So the men are being taught in these etiquette classes to host like tea parties and things like that as a way to network and hopefully snag themselves a bride. But the girls have huge crushes on the 5 main protagonists of the video game. One being the prince and then there's like a master swordsman, a master magician, or mage, a meathead. What does he do other than just be a meathead?
I mean, I literally look at him as like a D&D tank.
Sure, okay, yeah.
Or you know what he is?
What?
He's the male version of Darkness.
Yeah.
Just not as much of a masochist.
Sure, yeah. We have a brute. He could just be a brute. And one more that I can't remember.
The smart one.
The smart one. Yeah. So we have a swordsman, we have Brad, we have another one, and the prince.
Basically, you literally have a flavor of the week with each of these characters because he literally starts calling them by their hair color, and it humors me to no end.
Yeah. And so yeah, all the girls are obsessed with those 5 gents and don't even care about anybody else. But if they are to care about anybody else, the people that they would care about would be high-ranking nobles, which Leon at this point isn't. Yeah, so that's kind of the dynamic of the world. Except that everything goes wrong because there is another Isekai involved.
Yes, there is another player brought in to the world that decides to throw the entire game balance upside down. And this is what Blue and I were discussing before. Mm-hmm. So you've got Leon who goes in and he's like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can to just kind of ensure that the game's things kind of play out the way that they need to be. I'm going to be a mob character and just go on about my life. Mm-hmm. Other bitch shows up and she's like, all right, I'm going to take all of the princes for myself. I'm going to go through all of their things. And then our transfer student, who is Olivia, who is a cinnamon roll, mm-hmm. will not have her opportunity to do it. And also, fuck Angela as well, because, no, these are my men. Everybody else can fuck off.
Yes. Yeah. So I really liked how they really, really humanized Angie and gave her like justification, because I agree, she's been betrothed to this prince since she was a babe and has gone through so many years of etiquette training to being the perfect wife for him. Like, she has fully been plonked into a system where she has to be his I don't know, servant in a way, in a lot of ways, and birth his babies whenever he requests it. Like, it's a very old-fashioned perspective, especially considering that a lot of this is like power in the lady's hands. But this aspect of it was very much like she was brought up, like literally going through maid training just so that she could be a good wife to him,
Yeah, because outside of the royal family, the Redgraves, which is Angie's family, is the second highest ranking nobles in the kingdom outside of the royal family.
Yeah.
So it was like, what's the best way to bring our two kingdoms together than by prearranged marriage?
Exactly. Yeah. And she, bless her cotton socks, had decided to look on the bright side of everything and had fallen in love with him along the process and had actually tried her best to make it work. Like, she genuinely wanted to make it work. And in the original game, she then becomes the villain because the prince wants to fall in love with you, the player, and therefore she's left with nothing, and then the game ends with her being sad and miserable, which is sad and it's horrible. But like, the way the game is set is that she does all of these horrible things. As it's playing out in the anime, though, you're realizing that she's not actually instigating a lot of these things, and it's that she has like these minion follower people who are just following her because of her rank, who are doing things on her behalf, and she's taking the blame for them because she's a noble and believes that like she should take the blame for her people, right? Yes. And so yeah, big sad. Anyway, so now we have Cinnamon Roll and Angie. I'm just gonna call it, now you've labeled her that, I'm like, yes, she is Cinnamon Roll. So we've got a Cinnamon Roll, we have Angie, and both of them, like, Cinnamon Roll was supposed to be the player, and Angie's supposed to be the villain. Now they're besties, and I love them, and I ship them big time.
Yes.
And I have grounds to. Like, they were feeling up on each other and complimenting each other and hugging each other, and they slept in the same bed together. Like,
yeah, Hot Spring episode was adorable.
Yeah. there is grounds for a ship there. It's not just me saying that I ship these two best friends. Like, no, there's legit grounds.
Yes.
And yeah, so Olivia and her are like, they're good now. Main character, no, evil younger sister. The whole point, the dynamic. We believe that the young tiny person, the evil person who has slotted herself into Olivia Cinnamon Roll's place, is Leon's younger sister who got him to play the game in the first place.
And yet neither of them seem to realize who's who and who's done what in this entire thing, although they both realize that they're actual PCs.
Yeah.
Like, they both have the realization that neither of them are NPCs and they're actual player characters, and yet they can't piece together who's who. And for some reason, it's never, like, outright thrown at either one of them that they know what they are.
Yeah. Well, they've both had those moments of being like, she behaves exactly like my sister. Like, they have those moments.
Yeah, like, oh, this person reminds me of my sister.
Yeah.
Or, like, God, he pisses me off like my brother. Like, it's those things.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where we're left at with the hints. Is just them, like, very not subtly being like, they remind me of my sibling. And so I think we all know that that's the direction it's going in. I don't think it's a very, intelligent theory for us to have. Like, I think that's what they want us to think.
Yeah. Honestly, I could see the finale of season 2 being a standoff between the two of them. Yeah. Like a true and proper standoff.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
I feel like it's headed that way.
Agreed. Anyway, from that point, shit hits the fan, basically. We have pirates, but they're, like, airship pirates. We have, mecha wars. We have, a battle arena with mecha fights that he just kills the 5 princes just very easily.
Yeah, the Gelato 5 get the floor absolutely wiped by Leon. Mm-hmm. Leon also wins a speed bike race thanks to Luxian.
Yeah.
He also destroys Sky Pirates with Luxian.
Yeah. He kind of becomes sort of like homies with Brad and Redhead.
But he kind of forced himself to become homies with them because he's like, all right, so listen, I'm going to do all of these things, but I don't want credit for these things, so I'm going to blame them on you. Mm-hmm. That way you guys get back in good graces with your families, so that way I can, stop getting attention put on me because I'm supposed to be a mob character. And then he still ends up getting higher and higher ranked amongst the families. Yeah. Homie has the queen falling in love with him.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite bits out of the whole show.
It was so good to see the prince, like, so pissed off.
Yeah, like, it's still, like, the whole thing of, don't you fucking hit on my mom.
It's like, it's legit, and I love that it's on a game that's about, like, a video game, because it's the epitome of, fuck your mom.
Literally.
It's so good.
Like, oh my god, I loved it so much. Genuinely one of my favorite bits out of the whole show.
Yeah, it's very funny.
But yeah, Sky Pirates, you've got would monstrous be
like a
proper word?
Flute-playing summoner.
Yeah, and so she controls monsters, and then also, is it the Black Knight?
Yeah, and don't forget Stash.
Yeah, Stash is... Well, he is no longer stashed.
He's unstashed.
Leon decided to ruin his life by having Luxian just remove his mustache and goatee.
Permanently.
And then Luxian also uses their giant airship that we don't actually see because it's in the sky, rain down a hellfire of lasers to destroy the fucking monsters. Mm-hmm. And then Leon destroys the Black Knight, and everybody is happy. He's able to actually rekindle his friendship with Cinnamon Roll and Angie. Mm-hmm. And everything is hunky-dory in the end. Everything is fine. And then he gets granted super high honors in the academy in front of everybody by the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And he hates his life, and it's great. We're having a great time.
Yeah, and Livia also gives him a proper confession of love, and Angie is still, like, being shy about her affections, but it's clear that they're there. So
She's a tsundere.
Yeah, this is why I'm still for the throuple.
Oh, 100%. Because you have a cinnamon roll, you have a sadist, and then you have a tsundere.
Yeah.
And it's all wonderful.
Yeah, I think they are the perfect dynamic.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's great. I love it so much.
Yeah, I want the three of them. I ship the three of them very, very intensely.
Yes, like this is one harem that I'm okay with, and if you want to throw the queen into, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, I can... I argue, though, that it's not a harem. I think it's just a throuple, because harem, to me, means that the... Like, harem or reverse harem, whichever way you have it, it means that the people that are multiple of the same gender, they're not romantically involved with each other, but I think that they would all three be romantically involved with all three of them.
I mean, and again, I'm totally okay with
that. Yeah, so, question. Most annoying character, because there are several.
Oh god, the blonde bitch with the rings that I can't think of her name. That bitch.
Samantha? Was it Samantha? I feel like it was Samantha.
God, I have no clue. All I know is I hated her guts with a passion.
She's a horrible person. Agreed. I also...
Was it Erica?
Erica? Is it Erica? She's not on the character list. She's that hated. Oh, there she is. No, Stephanie. She's Stephanie.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was close with Samantha. Yeah. She's horrible. Hated her. Think she's mean. She's mean for being mean's sake. I am up there, though, with... I just think the prince is so mean. He's so unbelievably mean. And Jilk as well. Both of them... Just, like, they have... Because, like, the others of the 5 princes, the other 3, it seems like they had arranged marriages that they were unaware of, or, like, have just happened very recently, and they've only met their partners, like, once or twice, you know? So if they break up an engagement, it's not meaningful, right?
I will beg to disagree for one sole reason.
Okay.
And hear me out on
Sure.
this. And it's the same reason that the world building is so shitty, because there isn't any. It is a video game that is being played out. All of the correct responses were used throughout the entire thing to ensure that the prince and the other 4 out of the Gelato 5 decided that they were going to fall out of love with their betrothed, soon-to-be spouses. To fall in love with Short Bitch.
Yeah.
And so it's because Short Bitch used all of the things that Olivia was supposed to use. So I think regardless of any involvement, what was going to happen was going to happen. So therefore, although they are assholes for doing what they did, I think it is one of those true predetermined manners of this was going to happen anyway.
No, I agree with that. And I'm not saying that they're not allowed to break up with people. What I am saying, though, is that the way they did it and how they treated their ex-partners, specifically the 2 that had childhood connections with their partners, because both the prince and Jilk had, like, they grew up with their intendeds. To them, sending a letter to break up your engagement, and then when she's clearly upset about it, completely dismissing her feelings and being very rude to her, I'm sorry.
But I think that is... Again, game programming.
No, that's just
so
being a dick.
I think that's how it's. Again, I get it. Just hear me out. So that's how they were written to be, and it takes Leon's involvement for them to actually, because they do start to change, and they do kind of start to see the error of their ways. They're still head over heels for Short Bitch, so regardless, they're not going to break up with them and try to go back to their original spouses.
No, I wouldn't want them to.
But Leon is slowly causing change in them to where I feel like before it's all said and done, Short Bitch is going to be kicked to the curb by the time the series ends anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the prince, I kind of give him a little bit more leeway because he's thick as pig shit. He is so unbelievably stupid.
They're all thick as pig shit.
Yeah, but he's especially
they're
so.
All so dumb.
I mean, Jilk is... like, to be honest, him and Jilk would be a ship, considering how far Jilk has already found himself in the prince's pants to just, like, yes, your majesty, you are making the best decisions right now.
Like that whole bit whenever they're trying to figure out a way to sneak out of the castle.
The disguises.
And they had to request funds, and literally they're like, can we get cloaks and masks for entertainment? And the queen was just like, the fuck is wrong with him?
It's her realization.
I was crying.
It's her realization of, my son is fucking stupid.
And Jilk was right there with him. He's like, yes, this is the greatest thing I have ever heard.
Honestly, they're meant for each other, those two.
100%.
So, yeah, but, like, they're dumb. They're so dumb.
It's so dumb, but God,
they're
it's
himbos.
So stupid. I love the show.
Yeah.
It is garbage, but I love the show.
That's probably my favorite joke of the entire show, though, is the queen looking at her son and being like, you're dumb. You're fucking dumb.
Yes.
Like, you wanted cloaks and masks for entertainment, but you ordered nothing else. And you think I'm not gonna be like, no.
Because they were on house arrest,
yeah.
So what else would they want cloaks and masks for?
And it's like, what's your favorite food? My favorite food is the skewers that are found in the village this one random chick took me to. And now I love her. Like, dude, I know they say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but, like, seriously?
God, it's great. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Also, OP is a bop.
OP is a bop.
ED is stereotypical for an isekai. Like, literally the first thing I thought whenever I heard the ED was like, okay, this fits. The OP had no right to be that fucking good.
Yeah, OP was dumb good. Dynamic between Leon and his robot familiar, Lexion, is fantastic. They bully each other. It's great.
I also love whenever Leon punches Luxian, and it's just like, I'd hit you again, but my hand hurts.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so dumb, and yet it's, God, it's such a fantastic relationship all the way around.
We nearly forgot about T-Sensei.
Oh, yeah. You know what I thought the second I laid eyes on that man?
What?
Take a wild guess.
Oh, I have no idea. What?
Elegant.
Yes. Yeah, yes. Uh-huh.
Did you get the same vibes?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They would be best friends.
Oh, 100%. That would probably be the best tea party anybody could be invited to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so brilliant that we got both of those characters in the same fucking anime season.
Yeah.
Like, it was the best timing all the way around.
Yeah, 100% agree.
God.
I love how he's the only one that can contain Leon when he's lost his shit. He's going on a rampage.
Literally the only one. Like, dude was going on an absolute rampage, punching people, like disrupting his fucking school festival booth in front of the queen. Yeah. But T-Sensei gets brought in and he's immediately on his hands and knees. I'm so sorry. It's another one of my favorite bits.
It's so
fucking
good.
Love T-Sensei.
Yeah, that's there's so many really good bits in this. I don't even want to necessarily call them jokes because they're like entire scenes of a bit that are just really good. And
they're reoccurring bits too. Like, it's always really good callbacks to where it truly is a bit.
Yeah.
And it's not just moments.
Yeah.
So if you haven't gathered at this point, regardless of how many times we've told you, go watch it.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, go watch. Genuinely, really, really, really good fun. You'll have a blast. Like, you get to shut your brain off and just watch and enjoy.
I really want to watch the dub just to see how much I can disassociate with it and see if I'll have just as good of a time with it. Because again, at this point, like I said prior, my brain is learning to enjoy stuff more when it's dubbed instead of just immediately wanting to shit all over it. So who could say? But I'm very curious to see how much I enjoy the dub with it. So I'm going to have to give that a try.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to say is that I really enjoy the way that they did the animation in this. Because you know how with Bubble, one of my complaints was the fact that the animation was so beautiful at times that it was actually distracting to watch. In this, they have to add that element of beauty to certain characters because they're in a romance dating sim and they always have those sparkly, fan art style vibes,
Oh my god, whenever they have those stills of them talking and like having those bits, I'm like, the director of this show did a brilliant fucking job. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were doing 100%. With this.
Yeah, so they pulled in that element of the romance anime, like the romance sim fan art style, but they did it in a way to where it isn't distracting from the storyline. If you notice it, it's like, oh my god, that's so cool. If you don't notice it, then great. You're not disrupted from your storyline. It's not done in a way that's so obvious that it pulls you out of the storyline, no matter whether or not you were immersed or what,
Well, there are a couple moments, like anytime Booba is involved, that to where I'm like, okay, that's a little bit overdone because they decide to make them a little bit over animated and over shiny. To where I'm like, But it's not enough to just completely take you out of the moment. But as somebody who pays attention to the animation from start to finish, it's just like, that's a little bit much. Like, you're playing into the fan service there. But it's so few and far between, like, I don't hate it.
No. And yeah, I mean, I kind of write it off these days as just being like a thing that's part of shows,
But I feel like if it becomes distracting,
yeah, agreed,
then it deserves to be called on it.
Agreed.
And so it wasn't as tasteful as Food Wars does theirs, but it was still done tastefully to where it didn't just pull you out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's hard to, I mean, it's hard, like, it's one of those things of, like, it's just a complicated scenario. Like, I don't think there's really a way to do it appropriately, considering you are dealing with characters that aren't of age. But, like, it's like, I don't know. There's so many feelings around that subject that I just get overwhelmed,
Yeah, 100%. I get it.
But yeah, the voice acting I thought was good. I don't think there's any characters that I would swap out their voices for.
I think everybody fit. Like, Leon played his part wonderfully. Olivia, or Cinnamon Roll, since I don't think we've actually called her by her real name the entire time. Yeah. She fit her role well. I think Angie did as best as she could with what she was given.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the character never really truly showed any emotion other than, like, slight agitation or anger.
Yeah, except...
So we never really got much out of it.
The part where Olivia fell, I think, is probably the kind of the most emotion, or, like, whenever anyone was being angry to Olivia. The fight that she had between her and Stephanie? I feel like we got a little bit of emotion there. I would have liked to have seen more of that, and more consequences from that, because that was kind of thrown out there and then nothing really happened from it, and I would like to have seen more.
Yeah.
Marie, I feel like, was justifyingly annoying. Like, there are times where I'm like, okay, I'm pissed off at her and your voice is grating on my nerves, but she's not a nice character, so that's reasonable. Luxian has a male voice, but the robot was described as being genderless. That makes sense, though, to me, because they would have had somebody record, like, that's how robots' voices work, is that somebody records the voice and then they program it. So, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like everyone else, if they're an annoying character, I feel like they have a justifyingly annoying voice. Like, they did well at picking annoying voices for annoying characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
So what do you rate it?
I'm putting it at a solid 7 for dumb entertainment.
I could put it at an 8.
Yeah.
Just because the amount that I laughed, I feel like warrants an 8. Because like I said, I was pretty much giggling the entire time. So I had a great time with it. Like, it is not perfect by any sense, and the story was lacking in some ways, but at the same time, I had a blast. And if I have an actual blast watching something, then I feel like an 8 is kind of my bare minimum with it, unless there's just something glaring, like there's a glaring problem with it that I just can't get past. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like an 8 kind of fits.
Yeah. And that's right on track of where we normally score, because we kind of score like me slightly below, you slightly above the general score to where we make it about average.
Yeah, we pretty much fall right on the
Yeah, we
average
do.
whenever it comes to it.
Yeah, I it's definitely not, cinema or whatever. Like, it's just fun and dumb, and you'll have a blast. Watch it with friends. It's a great time. You'll
Yeah.
have fun.
So that's everything?
That's it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. We have socials where you can find us. Blue has her Etsy shop at, what was that?
It's Blue Lavender Craft.
Yeah, so go on Etsy and go look that up. She also has Twitter and Instagram at Blue Lavender STM.
Mm-hmm.
I have an Instagram at Brad Carter Gaming, or if you want to get in touch with either of us at the same time, then we have BnB Anime on all of the things.
Yeah.
We got a Facebook page that nobody ever updates. We've got an Instagram and a Twitter that sometimes gets updated. At this point, I feel like I just use the Twitter to meme most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then we have a handy-dandy website, www.bnbanime.com, where you can check out all of our prior episodes, friends of the podcast, and a whole lot of shit. Also, YouTube. Mm-hmm. Our YouTube's kind of got a little bit of a glow up now that I've taken over responsibilities for making YouTube videos and thumbnails. Mm-hmm. So, for one, we finally have thumbnails again, and starting with Dr. Stone Ryusei from last week, and then with this episode as well, which, by the way, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you're a week behind to catch up on Spotify and all the other things. But yeah, we got a new video format that I went in and made myself, so I am very proud of it.
Yeah! I'm proud of it too. It looks great.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. But so, with all of the plugs out of the way, what do we have next week?
Next week on the schedule, we have The Flower We Saw That Day, which was recommended by the twins.
And that anime is commonly known by Anohana.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you're ready to cry.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Next week's going to be rough, mate.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Anohana since I watched it the first time. And I'm not ready to rewatch it, but I'm going to.
Oh, no. No.
So yeah, we're in for a fun time next week. However, we've got more rom-com coming to you after that, so stay tuned.
Yeah. After that, we should have Shikinori Mori's, not just a cutie.
Yeah. So we got fun stuff coming up. So again, thank y'all so much for listening. Blue and I greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.